I want to tag along with a couple of things that you said, Brad, about the synagogue. That's not a speculation that you were making. That's a Reformed argument that was made in the classical Reformed period. There's actually an English translation of a treatise by Wittringa, where he argues that the pattern for early Christian worship was the synagogue. And there's some evidence for that. In fact, people who study early Christian worship, and I have read a good bit of that literature, recognize the connection between the synagogue and early Christian worship, because the early Christians did not seek to replicate the temple. They sought to imitate and adapt the synagogue. And by the way, there's relatively little singing in the synagogue and relatively little singing in early Christian worship. It's a hard question. I've been working on it off and on for years. The secondary literature is very confused and confusing about exactly what was sung in early Christian literature, or early Christian worship and the liturgy. I know that in the 4th century, there was some debate about whether things other than psalms could be sung. One synod saying yes, one synod saying no, and then a subsequent synod saying yes. So we know that was debated. But it's becoming clear to me that we sang relatively little. And then just recently, I was working on the Strasbourg liturgy from 1545, and there's even if you include the Lord's Supper liturgy, there's relatively little singing. It's very distinct from contemporary worship, which, as you observed in your article, is, I think, what's happening in a lot of contemporary services is just an adaptation of the 19th century revival service. So what I say to the students is you sing them for 30 minutes and then you preach them. That bipartite structure is not our structure. Our structure is dialogic. And so anyway, I just think that's interesting that it was very logocentric, both in the synagogue, in early Christian worship, where, by the way, they used no instruments until traditionally until the 8th century.
Well, they didn't even blow the shofar?
Not in early Christian worship, no.